Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to call the Operations Committee meeting of February 13th, 2024 to order. As we gather here this afternoon, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we're meeting on the traditional territory of the First Nations. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. We are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship, and we also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Evelyn, has roll call been taken?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and we have quorum.
Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof on any of the matters before us today? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion for the adoption of the minutes of our previous meeting held on January 16th. That is part of our package. Moved by Councillor Bennett, seconded by Councillor Watt. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? And that is carried. And now we will go on to delegations, and I would ask Mr. Perkins to introduce our guest.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And through you, it's a pleasure today to have Tanner Watt here from Local Authority Services, a product of AMO, of course, as you know. He's their municipal program specialist. He's going to give us a short and brief presentation about automatic speed enforcement and how it's used in Ontario. Also, like to point out that he's a graduate of the University of Lethbridge in Southern Alberta, where I came from. So, great to have you here, Tanner. Thank you very much, and take it away.
It's all yours, Tanner.
Thank you, Lee, for the introduction. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. We're going to give a quick introduction to who LAS is, how automated speed enforcement works, and the program that LAS is creating for Ontario municipalities, which will be one of the options available for you going forward. So just quick background, LAS is the business services wing of AMO. AMO has been around for well over 100 years. LAS has been around for around 30. We are a nonprofit organization with a board of directors made up of staff and council, and we essentially exist to make your lives easier. So automated speed enforcement. This is one of the programs that came based on a recommendation from our board. They've been hearing a lot of interest in the program from municipalities, but we know that it's something that is quite a challenge to get set up for all but the largest municipalities. So the request was for a program that any municipality, regardless of size, would be able to use in their community. So automated speed enforcement, as you're aware, is the combination of a camera with a radar unit that's able to identify vehicles and track their speed. Based on that, we are able to issue citations for speeding under the Highway Traffic Act. So in addition to the Highway Traffic Act, there are a few other pieces of legislation that form the structure for this program. The Provincial Offences Act is part of it. The Safer School Zones Act of 2017 is what kind of opened the door for this initially. In 2019, legislation was passed that set the framework for automated speed enforcement in Ontario. And then in 2022, legislation was passed allowing for administrative penalties for camera-based conventions, which is a way of shifting the ticket adjudication model from your local court system to something that is run in the municipality itself. There are three main parts to running an automated speed enforcement program. So the camera supply is taking care of that physical infrastructure, the signage, which is laid out in the legislation, how that works, the cameras themselves, any maintenance, installation, the calibration. The second step is the violation processing. So that includes review by a provincial offences officer, the lookup of the vehicle owner's information in the MTO database, printing, mailing, everything involved in getting the ticket out the door. And then from there, there's the adjudication part of the process. There's two ways to do that. One is going through your existing POA courts, and the second option is administrative penalties run through the municipality. So the LAS program that we've created will take on the first two parts of this this process and support with the third. So we will supply the cameras, do the calibration and the installation. We can do the signage if desired. We will have provincial offenses officers that will validate the tickets, verify them, look up the database information, print and mail, and get them out the door. In terms of the adjudication, that isn't something that we are able to do under the current legislation. So we would support the municipality in either preparing the information package to go to your POA courts for processing, or creating an information package to fit into an administrative penalty system if the municipality chooses to go that route. So in terms of how our program is progressing, we ran an RFP a couple of years ago to select a partner for the program. We went with Conduent for that. So they supplied the cameras, they take care of everything to do with getting them up and running on your streets. They provide the back-end software that runs everything and manages the ticket processing part of things. We've set up a ticket processing center. The very first one is in partnership with the City of Barrie. So the provincial offenses officers must be employed by a municipality, because LAS is not a municipality ourselves. We're not able to do that. So through partnerships with municipalities, we're able to have the officers be under their payroll essentially, but they are processing tickets in partnership with LAS. And by doing that, we're able to bring on other municipalities, often smaller municipalities, that don't have that capacity internally. So our plan is to have multiple ticket processing centers set up around the province to allow us to scale the program to meet the demand. So with the City of Barrie, we've been running a pilot program for a couple of months now. Things are going pretty well. So we're looking to expand it. We're going to be adding on the town of Innisfil as the first participating member, where the City of Barrie's processing center will be managing the tickets for them. If everything goes smoothly as we expect, with that, we'll be opening it up to wider participation. We do have quite a bit of interest in this program, so it is going to be an interesting challenge for us over the next couple of years to build up this program to meet the demand. Eventually, we will be setting up a joint municipal service board to take on the role of the processing center. That will formalize the process and make it a bit easier to coordinate multiple processing centers across the province. So that board will be made up of municipal members who have an interest in the program, and it will be run on essentially a revenue neutral status. So we're not making any money off of this one. It's just set up so that the per ticket processing fee will cover the costs of processing that ticket. The partner for this program is Conduent Transportation. They are a company that's had a lot of experience in Canada, outside of Ontario, of course, and around the world in doing ticket automated speed enforcement and ticket violations. So I've been working with them quite a bit to get our systems in place, make sure that they meet the unique Ontario legislative requirements, and are ready, again, as I said, to scale to meet the demand across the province. In the processing center with the City of Barrie, we've hired 2 officers to start with. They have a capacity for 8, so we'll be expanding that fairly shortly. Everything is going well so far, and we're looking forward to expanding that program out to open it up to other municipalities. So with that, that was all that I had as part of the presentation, and I'm now happy to answer any questions from the committee.
No, thank you very much, Tanner. Appreciate the information, and I'll open it up to committee members for questions. Councillor Lynch.
Thank you, Chair. Just my thought is, if we have 17 municipalities in the county. When you said there was 2 officers in Barrie and you're going to join with Innisfil, will that mean there's more people physically in Innisfil to support the people in Barrie, or the Barrie people are going to support Innisfil?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So the plan is to expand the Barrie Processing Center. So there will be additional provincial offences officers added in that secure location, which has been set up with the physical infrastructure for processing tickets, and they will be able to process for Innisfil and other participating members around the province.
Supplemental, Chair, thank you.
Councillor Lynch.
So my thought was that if the county were to be the headquarters with all the staff and the municipalities feed into the county, that won't, that's not a feasibility, correct?
At this point, our program is being set up on looking at the province as a whole. So we're seeing where the demand is, where the capacity is for processing centers, and just the goal is to make sure that it's going to scale efficiently and properly. So we're not looking to have 50 processing centers spread out around the province. We're looking for maybe 5 or 6. So whether the County of Renfrew would be a suitable place for a ticket processing facility is a bit of a separate conversation from participating in the program. They don't need to go together.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So a couple further. So currently, and based on a resolution that we just supported recently, am I correct in saying that currently we're still only allowed to put automatic radar systems in community safety zones? And further to that, so is LAS going to be part of the process that we're involved in to try to get the province to open that up?
Certainly. So the legislation as it stands now, you're correct, are either community safety zones or school zones. The AMO policy team is working together with several municipal councils and other organizations to potentially open up that legislation and try give more options to councils who are trying to manage speeding in their communities. So if that is something that your council is wanting to work with the province on, please let us know and we'll make sure that you're part of the work that the AMO policy team is doing on that file. Yeah, more voices on that are always going to be helpful.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for that. And just for committee's information, I believe we have 6 community safety zones in Renfrew County right now, so not a large opportunity. On the systems that you have, I'm assuming they need a cell connection to transmit data?
They typically use a cell network to transmit data, but if the camera does need to go in an area without service, we do have other tools available for us to make that work. So it's preferable, but it's not a requirement.
Okay. Thank you. Anything further from committee members? Seeing none, thank you very much for the information. And I assume we'll hear more about this in the future, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, we'll now move on to item number 7, the Public Works Engineering Department and the department report. Mr. Perkins, can be found on page 7.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And as you said, my report begins on page 7. So item 1 here under bylaws is alterations to county roads and structures. The recommendation here is that the Operations Committee recommends that County Council adopt a bylaw approving the alterations to county roads and structures.
Thank you for that. Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommendation, please? Moved by Councillor Bennett, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. And some background, please.
Yes, thank you again, Chair. Background's a little extensive here, but essentially this is housekeeping for us. All our projects this summer, we have to do either road closures or traffic deviations or whatever is necessary. So every single year we bring this to you for approval. So thank you.
Thank you for that. So what you will see, what's identified in the schedule, I think it says that in the background, Schedule 1 shows the proposed projects and where this bylaw will apply. If there was a project that came up outside of the schedule, then it would come back to committee and council for approval on the one-off basis, I guess. Questions, comments? should have, yeah, okay. So seeing none, all those in favor? And that is carried. We'll move on to item number 2.
Thank you, Chair. And again, through you, item 2 is a policy PW22, which is the naming of bridges and culverts. So the recommendation here is that the Operations Committee recommends that County Council adopt a bylaw to approve corporate policy PW22, naming bridges and culverts for all County of Renfrew owned bridges and culverts.
Thank you for that. Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Lynch, seconded by Councillor Watt. We've seen this before, but so we know there's a number of structures across the county that it would be appropriate to, or it may be appropriate to rename. This policy will give the lower tier municipalities the opportunity to bring that forward to the county for consideration, I guess. So, any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is carried.
Thank you, Chair. That concludes my section of the report.
Right, so it does. Okay, then we'll move on to the 7B Capital Works Division report. And Mr. Henroth.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. My section of the report starts on page 15. Item number 1 is a resolution, declaration of surplus land, County Road 51, part of Lot 9, Range B, Town of Petawawa. The recommendation is that the Operations Committee recommends to County Council that the land depicted in the attached sketch be declared surplus to the needs of the County of Renfrew.
Thank you for that. Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Watt. Some background, Mr. Henroth.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. So we've had someone coming forward requesting the properties identified. We have reviewed the properties and do feel that there is some that can be declared surplus for sale to the adjacent owner. We would go ahead with a commercial appraisal to establish value and a land survey at the cost of the purchaser.
Any comments or questions? Councillor Bennett.
I looked at this and I'm just wondering, what is the purpose of the lot addition? Is it have a business location there, a building, or is it something that we should investigate a little bit more and see what's available for housing on that?
So this is an existing business, and in essence, we own his parking lot.
Yeah.
So,
But can we use it for something other than just for liquidating the property? Oh, sorry.
Mr. Henroth.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, I believe that this portion of land would be too small for looking at for housing, but if desired, we can look into it further.
Yeah, and I guess further to that, is it what would the zoning be on it? I'm not sure. I don't know what that is, but anything further from committee? Seeing none. Anyway, we will see this come back once they do the appraisal and the survey. Then that will come back to committee. So we'll have another shot at this. Seeing nothing else, I will call a question. All those in favor of the recommendation, and that is carried. And we will move on to the next item.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. Item number 2 is B232 Cochrane Creek Bridge closure and removal. And the recommendation is that the Operations Committee recommends that County Council direct staff to commence the process required for closure and removal of county structure B232 Cochrane Creek Bridge, located on Cement Bridge Road in the township of North Algona, Wilberforce.
Thank you. Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Lynch, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Mr. Henroth.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. There's a lengthy background here, but I'll attempt to summarize. So this structure has $450,000 budgeted for 2023 currently. The preliminary design report was recently submitted by the design consultant, and 4 options were identified. The most cost-effective option identified by the preliminary design report was a superstructure replacement for a 75-year design service life at a cost of approximately $600,000. This structure is located on a seasonal road with very low traffic volumes whenever it is open to the public. So what staff has looked at is the option of closure of the structure altogether. We would monitor the structure until it reached a condition point that it required closure, but we would commence the studies required to do so in 2024.
Comments or questions? Councillor Watt.
Should the structure be removed, what's beyond it? Is there people living there? Like, is there fire safety issues at all involved?
Mr. Hanrath.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the councillor from Laurentian Valley. There's no permanent residence directly on the other side of the structure, and if committee will indulge me, I will share my screen.
Please do. Picture says 1,000 words.
I'll start by sharing a map that shows the location of the structure. If I can. So the structure is located here. Whenever you're traveling on Lake Dory Road, you would come up to Spurberg and Spring Hill and up and around. But from Burkat inward, this is the seasonal road. So to get to the other side of the structure, you would either go around this way, taking a different seasonal road on Old Camp Road, or take Trailblazers Road to Bud Mills Road, which is also a seasonal road. And I will now share some photos of the structure to give an idea of its location further. As you can see here, the structure is located on what would be called a trail. It's not maintained through the winter. It's not regularly graded by the local municipality. It has very low traffic volumes, considered to be less than 10 per day. I'll pause there to see if there's any further questions about this item.
As I mentioned, the picture's worth 1,000 words. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none. Did you have none? No. Seeing none. All those in favor of the recommendation? And that is carried. Item number 3, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. Item number 3 is updates to the 2024 capital budget, and the recommendation is that the Operations Committee recommends to County Council that the 2024 capital budget be amended as follows. Increase the budget for County Road 37, Murphy Road, by $922,365 from $1,537,635 to $2,460,000. B, decrease the budget for County Structure B103 O'Grady Bridge by $198,500 from $238,500 to $40,000. C, decrease the budget for County Structure B156 Burnt Bridge by $427,000 from $477,000 to $50,000. And decrease the budget for County Structure B232 Cochrane Creek Bridge by $350,000 from $450,000 to $100,000.
Can I have a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Watt. And the background, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. Again, there's a lengthy background here, but I'll attempt to summarize. So, as committee may recall, over the past month, we've received requests from the town of Petawawa for increased contributions to the reconstruction of County Road 37 Murphy Road in order to accommodate the additional costs of contributing to this project. We would have to have offsetting projects, one of which was just described in the previous item on the report. And the other two that have been identified are bridge structures that can wait a year, that we're still going through the design processes on, and can be offset and deferred to a later year. There would be, of course, further impacts to the overall capital asset management plan, as we've talked about in the past, but we would present those at a later date. And the current proposal is for a 50% share in the reconstruction cost of the project.
Comments or questions on the, what is there, 4 items in there? Yeah, on the 4 items listed. Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is carried. Item number 4.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. Item number 4 is a bylaw, PWC 2024-02, B102, Brennan's Creek Bridge Rehabilitation. And the recommendation is that the Operations Committee recommends that County Council approve contract PWC 2024-02 as submitted by KB Civil Constructors Incorporated, North York, Ontario, for the rehabilitation of county structure B102, Brennan's Creek Bridge in the township of Killaloe, Haggerty, and Richards in the amount of $344,296.67 plus applicable taxes, and further that the County Council adopt a bylaw to execute the contract.
Thank you for that. Can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Bennett, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. You can give us some background.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. The background here is a tender was issued for the rehabilitation of B102 Brennan's Creek Bridge. 7 submissions were received for the tender. The lowest submission being from KB Civil Constructors Incorporated. There is a variance table presented in the financial implications. As you can see, the projected cost is $110,000 under budget for this project, even with the consideration of the engineering consultant fees on top of the construction fees as well. And I'll pause there.
Thank you for that. Comments or questions? I have a question. I forget what it was. The engineering contract administration supervision. Was there not some thought that we would be able to do some of this in-house in the past, in the future?
Thank you, Chair. Through you to yourself and committee. On bridge structures such as this, because they can be quite complex in nature, we would continue to use consultant services for these types of projects. However, the culvert projects that we're designing in-house, we would do our own contract administration on.
Thank you for reminding me of that. Well, considering the first bridge project that we tendered this year, I think this is encouraging to see this one come in like this. So, anything further? Warden Emo.
Thank you. Just a quick question on I believe this is the first time we're using this company. Is there a process for us just to keep an eye on their work, maybe a little closer than the others? And I'm curious as to why, like, BEI is number 5 in terms of value, why 4 from significant distances away came in at somewhat lesser prices.
Mr. Perkins or Mr. Henrith.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the warden. We will monitor this one closely as they are a new contractor to the County of Renfrew. From our research, they do have a number of projects with the City of Ottawa that they seem to be doing somewhat well on, but it's still in the early stages.
Anything further? Mr. Perkins.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I just wanted to add, obviously, this is a very sensitive issue for the town of Killaloe because this is their main street. So we have reached out to town of Killaloe's Public Works Department and also Mayor Mayville to inform them that once we get our construction schedule and stuff in place, we will forward some detailed information to them as well. If anyone will recall, a number of years ago, the Cameron Street Bridge was rehabbed with the ability for us to be able to close the Queen Street Bridge. So that's something that we're working through with them. Also, we are reaching out to the loggers that use that road. So once we have a detailed schedule, we're going to reach out to the logging companies and just advise them that it would be best if they went another way. So just to make sure everyone's aware that we are politically acute sometimes.
Thank you for that. Anything further? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is carried. On we go to item number 5.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. Item number 5 is PWC 2024-06, relining of various culverts. And the recommendation is that the Operations Committee recommends the County Council approve contract PWC 2024-06 as submitted by Aquatech Solutions Incorporated, Sconeburg, Ontario, for the relining of various culverts in the amount of $207,725 plus applicable taxes. And further, that the County Council adopt a bylaw to execute the contract.
Thank you for that. Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Bennett, seconded by Councillor Lynch. Mr. Henrath.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. So this contract actually affects 3 of our road projects. We have 1 liner being installed on County Road 8, Cobden Road, 2 being installed on County Road 70, Ruby Road, and 5 being installed on County Road 508, Calabogie Road. This is somewhat of a first for the county, as we haven't gone this route in the past. Typically, we would line them with our own CSPs and have our day labor project group do it. So it's not a new technology overall, but a first time for us going ahead with it. To add, we have noticed a significant savings in going this route. It's come in at the price of buying the culverts outright, let alone taking the time to replace them on top of that.
And my understanding is that this is in place, they inject the lining in. I would just point out, I don't know if it's similar technology, but the town of Deep River has started to reline our sewer system, sanitary sewer pipes, with some great success. We've had a couple of challenges where the pipes are in really bad shape, but we've relined, I think, 4, 5, 6 streets, and you can do it in the wintertime, and you don't have to dig up the road. So the relining technology, I think, is advancing, and I guess we'll see how this works out if we approve this, I guess. Comments? Any comments or questions? Councillor Lynch.
Thank you, Chair. Is there any hope of our day crew getting training on putting in liners?
I suspect this technology might be equipment challenge, but Mr. Hanrath.
Yes, Chair. Through you to the councillor from Empire, that's correct. So our day crew do liners by installing hard pipes, whereas liners such as this, they're what's called a fold-in form or a spray-in place. We gave 2 options for this tender, and it's pretty specialized equipment, so that's why we've gone to tender for this round.
Anything further? Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Chair. There's a significant difference from the received bids from low to high. Any explanation for that at all?
Mr. Henrath.
Unfortunately, we don't have the detailed knowledge of it, but we feel it may be just a difference of installation method. Some contractors, for instance, the one that got it, it's a fold-in form. The larger ones on the higher end were spray in place, so it could be just the method of applying the liners themselves, or their knowledge, local knowledge of our area as well could have been a factor.
Okay. Anything further? Councillor Bennett.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, I would like to direct this to the warden. Through you, Chair, I'd like to direct this to the warden. I believe Renfrew used this technology on Smith's Creek several years ago, and it has been no problem whatsoever, right?
That's what my understanding is. I was just trying to think of what project, because I remembered the process, but yeah, we've had no difficulty since we replaced it.
I know. Thank you.
Okay. Anything further? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? And that is carried. And we'll move on to item number 6.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. Item number 6 is PWC 2024-64, County Road 64, Opeongo Road Rehabilitation. And the recommendation is that the Operations Committee recommends that County Council approve contract PWC 2024-64 as submitted by Greenwood Paving Pembroke Limited, Pembroke, Ontario, for the rehabilitation of County Road 64, Opeongo Road, from Wayland Shore Road to Constant Lake Road, a distance of 8.2 kilometers, in the township of Bonnechere Valley, in the amount of $1,718,606.60 plus applicable taxes, and further that County Council adopt a bylaw to execute the contract.
Thank you for that. Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Warden Emo. The background, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. There's a lengthy background here, but I'll attempt to summarize. So we issued a tender for the rehabilitation of the road, which is going to be an asphalt overlay. We received 6 submissions. They are quite significantly under budget. Part of the reason for that is there was far less culvert replacements required on this stretch of road than typically we would benchmark for. The culverts are lasting longer than they usually do for us, which is a good sign. And we also received significantly lower unit rates than we were initially expecting as well, which is a good sign.
Thank you for that. Once again, based on the first tender that we put out this year, nice to see this and encouraging, a start of some encouragement anyway. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is carried. And I believe that's the end of that one.
Correct.
So we'll
Sorry, just on that last item, just so committee is aware, this is going to actually have a 500 millimeter shoulder as opposed to the 1 meter because the road width bed is not there for us. So this one will be one that you will see with an extra ½ meter on each side as opposed to the 1 meter. So as per our policy is where possible, we put the 1 meter on, and we would prefer to put the 1 meter on, but we're not going to rebuild the road.
Thanks for the additional information. Unsolicited. So now we'll move off onto the Operations Division report, and in the absence of Mr. Balduc, I think I'll call on Mr. Henrath.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. Item number 1 is winter operations. The early portion of the 2023-2024 winter season has brought relatively mild weather conditions, including rain, freezing rain, a few significant snow events in areas, light snow, and relatively mild temperatures. Table 1 provides a summary of the winter events, material usage, and precipitation amounts for the months of November through January. Attached as Appendix OP1 is a summary of the winter events and precipitation amounts since the 2018-2019 winter season. Both Table 1 and the attachment indicate the type of events which were responded to, as well as the type of and amount of material used during the response. In viewing the data provided, it must be noted that precipitation recorded is the total of mixture of snow, rain, freezing rain, etc. Table 2 outlines the significant weather events declared to date for the 2023-2024 winter season. Staff continues to be ready to respond to winter events as they occur. And item number 2 is spring load restrictions. County of Renfrew Bylaw 11-12 is a bylaw to designate a reduced load period on county roads and pertains to spring load restriction, which may be imposed commencing March 1st and extended to May 31st. Over the coming weeks, staff will be monitoring the spring weather conditions to determine the optimum time to impose the spring load restrictions. The county will be placing notices in the local newspapers and on the website to advise haulers of the spring load restrictions. Item number 3, quotations and tenders. A letter and questionnaire were circulated to local municipal staff, advising them of the 2024 planned tenders and inviting them to participate in the questionnaire for February 16, 2024. The tenders included the circulation and the balance of the tenders that form part of the approved budget will be released from the Operations Division starting in late February. As of January 31st, 2024, the Operations Division has received responses from the Town of Arnprior and the Township of Admaston Brumley, Horton, Madawaska Valley, and North Algona Wilberforce. Item number 4 is municipal cooperation. The Operations Division received a request from the Township of Admaston Brumley to borrow a retro-reflectometer unit. A standard agreement for the temporary use and liability was executed and submitted accordingly. The township picked up the unit on January 31st, 2024, and it is estimated to be returned by the end of February.
Well, thank you for that, Taylor. We'll go back and review winter operations item number 1 and comments or questions. Just a comment or a question for committee. We've got table 1 and 2. Well, my comment first is it's a little bit surprising, and I'm wondering if a lot of this is driven by November. But we've had a relatively mild December, January, and when I first looked at this, I was surprised at how much material we actually did use. And I guess the material, along with labor and wear and tear on equipment, is really our cost. But Is there any insight into the amount of material that we used?
Oh, thank you, Chair, through you to the committee. What happens here, of course, is the freestyle vents. So what you see in county roads is usually the elevated corners and stuff like that. It melts on the high side, drips across the road, and then, of course, turns into black ice. So crews are still out dealing with ice on a regular basis, and, of course, sand is not of value to us on ice, so we use quite a bit more salt. But no, it's the freeze thaw, and like I said, winter has been kind to us in the sense of plowing snow. We haven't had many expenditures in terms of repairing the gear.
Okay, thank you for that. And this question I'm going to put out for committee. Table 1 and 2 is a snapshot of this year that's showing, or the last 3 months. All of that information is duplicated in the large chart that we have on page 29 that's showing the 5-year average. So is there any value for the committee to have table 1 and 2? Do we want to continue to see that, or is just the large table continued on? Is that what the committee wants to see, or do we want to see all of it continued? Councillor Lynch.
Thank you, Chair. If I'm not mistaken, table 2 is the message we get from Tina saying that we're having a storm warning, whatever,
Sure.
and everything for the entire county.
It could get added into the other one.
It's a lot easier for me to know that I had 4 specific instances in the days that we're doing it.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll just leave it the way it is. I tried.
Sorry, Chair, I'm just trying to get clarification on the charts and whether it's something the committee wants to receive on a monthly basis or quarterly basis. We have reduced some reporting on data in other committees down to a quarterly basis, but it's entirely up to this committee whether they want to receive it annually, monthly or otherwise.
Okay. So any thoughts on whether we want to see this data monthly or quarterly? Councillor Bennett.
I think it's very good to have this way right now. I know in my mind, we've seen a winter like this.
Need the mic.
How much money? Sorry. I know in my mind, I was wondering how much money we're actually saving with the winter the way it was. And it's nice to see it monthly, especially during the winter months, to know exactly what's happening in front of us. Because we did see it the other way when we didn't have enough salt for the season too. So.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, seeing that, I'm thinking we want it monthly. Okay. Item number 2, spring load restrictions. Just a question. So staff will be monitoring this so that there's a chance it will be lifted earlier if the weather holds out. Okay. Any questions, comments from members of committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 3, quotation and tenders. From my point of view, it's nice to see some of the lower tiers stepping forward and taking advantage of the opportunity that the county has presented to all of us. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, item number 4, municipal cooperation, and I guess the loan of some equipment that the county has to aid one of the lower tier municipalities. And we've seen this on a number of occasions over time, and I think the most recently was the Algonquin to Pikwakanagan, I do believe. So, anything further on item 4? Seeing none, we did all the resolutions and the bylaws. I would entertain a motion to adopt the Public Works Engineering Department as a whole, the report as a whole. Moved by Councillor Bennett, seconded by Councillor Watt. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is carried. Is there any new business for today? Seeing none, I don't believe there's any closed meeting on the books. The date of our next meeting will be Tuesday, March 5th. Councillor Bennett will graciously be hosting that meeting as I won't be able to attend in person, but I will attempt to join by Zoom. And then County Council, Wednesday, February 28th. And that's it. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Bennett. All those in favor? And it is carried. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.